So many Americans flee the country and try to hide out in Mexico that they have a set of law enforcement called the Gringo Hunters. They arrest 13 to 15 people a month, one person every other day, for homicide, PDF files, billion-dollar stock swindles, Mexican mafia members. But a couple days ago, an escaped
Kern County inmate is on the run and wanted in Mexico.
Gunned down the only female member of the Gringo Hunters, Abigail Reyes, in a shootout, and he got away in Tijuana. He fled nearly naked out of the house that they had surrounded.
Newly obtained video allegedly shows Kern County escaped inmate Cesar Hernandez running down a street in Tijuana shortly after authorities say he killed a Mexico police commander during a shootout on Wednesday. You can see him quickly change into reflective clothing and continue walking away. Another security camera allegedly shows Hernandez crossing a highway still wearing that disguise. Law enforcement confirms both videos are being investigated, and now we're learning more about the agent who was killed.
Ok, ahorita vamos a coordinarnos para trabajar el asunto de un asunto de homicidio.
Commander Abigail Esparza Reyes is seen in this ABC News video featuring the so-called Gringo Hunters, a Mexican task force that helps catch U.S. fugitives.
Vamos a ver qué surge con esto.
After the fact, they got sort of ring camera footage and stuff like that from the neighborhood, and they could see that he fled out of the house nude, and he went into a truck that he had parked and had under a tarp, and he had clothes in there, and he dressed like a municipal worker, like a city worker, and was able to get out of the area. And he's wanted again. The U.S. Marshals have contributed a $35,000 U.S. dollar bounty to find this guy. But that brings up a interesting topic. So we're always hearing about Mexico and Mexicans, so-called, bringing crime to the United States, illegal immigrants, of course, los drogas. But, you know, if you know anything about it, or even just common sense would tell you, it's a two-way street. And this Gringo Hunters is so active, and so much wild stuff goes on. Netflix, they got a show about it. It's not live yet, but if you go on Netflix, it's there. Like, you can set it on your watch list. So that's getting ready to come out about this team that this woman who lost her life the other day was on. Sometimes there were two women. Usually she was the only woman.
The U.S. Marshals Service was in the area when Commander Esparza Reyes was shot and rendered aid before she died. The agency said it cannot comment on specifics, but shared a statement reading, quote, "We mourn her loss along with her family, friends, and colleagues."
The Washington Post went and covered a story about them maybe a couple years ago, and it featured her and talked about how competent she was, and that the team in general wasn't the most competent, but that they had a lot of swagger because they arrested so many Americans. He said they were getting like 13 or 15 a month. So what's that, 180? I mean, they've arrested thousands. So this woman that was gunned down, she had participated in arresting thousands of Americans, usually for quite serious stuff. It's very easy to cross the border. Literally, the time I went to Tijuana, we walked over. We were walking and we knew we were getting to the actual crossing point, and we were like slowing down, expecting someone to be like, "Hey, come here, show me your ID." Man, you just keep walking and you're like, "Oh shit, we're in Mexico." And there was no guard at all. They're not stopping you from coming in. And of course, our guns fuel the cartels down there. But back to what happened a couple days ago. So this guy is still wanted. He's out of Fresno. No. He's out of Long Beach. Or he committed a homicide out of Long Beach back in 2019. Him and his girlfriend, Cesar Hernandez is his name. Him and his girlfriend were at the bar where she worked at, and one of those just kind of senseless violence, he sounded like he got drunk, and him and her were arguing, and he was outside frustrated, and another motorist honked at him, or they exchanged some words or something. Like, this guy wasn't his girlfriend's other boyfriend or something. And he domed the guy right outside the bar. So he must have ties in Tijuana, though, because in the initial investigation, so he's a Los Angeles guy. He committed this homicide in Long Beach. For those of you not from LA, Long Beach is part of LA County. It's in the south, but it's LA surrounds it. They found the car that was used in the homicide, a white Altima, was found parked on the Tijuana side of the border. Like, he had parked, got a parking ticket, and walked away and abandoned it. And then eventually they took him into custody in California. He got an 80-year sentence. So he was at, I think, Delano Correctional, which is in Kern Valley, kind of up near Fresno. Or I think that's where Fresno is, which is the middle of California. A long way from the border. I mean, from LA to the border is a good 2 hours. I think Fresno's another maybe 3 hours from LA. So you're looking at 5 hours. So he was, mind you, this is a guy doing 80 years. He gets caught with shank in prison. So they give him an outside charge. And they're transporting him. This is very incompetent. Like, this is kind of scary as far as, like, public safety. This guy's doing 80 years. They're taking him to outside court. And the news and the California Department of Corrections just describe it as he ran, like he just ran from the van. Now, mind you, this is a guy that has on a certain inmate outfit. He should have been cuffed, belly chained. I don't know. Sounds almost like an inside job, like he had a guard helping him. Because, first of all, up where that happened, the Kern Valley Courthouse, like, I mean, it's a city, don't get me wrong, but it's not some megalopolis and full of, like, nooks and crannies to hide in. I mean, the idea that a guy in a prison outfit who ostensibly should have some type of cuffs or chains on or something just runs in the downtown courthouse area, runs off, had to be a car waiting for him. Had to be. And he gets 5 hours south to the border. That was back in December. So this guy has been on the run for, 4 months now. And the Gringo Hunters tracked him down to this house. And a lot of Mexican police, they don't have the financial resources, of course, at the U.S., so they don't have as much training time. So U.S. law enforcement, not all of the local law enforcement, but like law enforcement in big cities, LA SWAT team, New York, they're well trained just because, I mean, they spend a lot of money training them. They go to training, they're well paid. In some of America's smaller cities, I mean, that's one of the reasons why crime is higher nowadays in your Detroits and St. Louis's and Kansas City. Their police departments just are not as effective. But, so they surround his house. Apparently their tactics were not up to par because this guy, there was 10 or 12 of the Gringo Hunters. This guy was able to boom, boom, boom. Unfortunately, he took out the woman Abigail and fled, changed into some other clothes, and is gone. And there's thousands of wanted U.S. criminals floating around down there. If you remember Dog the Bounty Hunter, Dwayne Chapman, who ended up having a big reality show, he got famous, at least nationally, and it led to his TV show for chasing and capturing a guy in Mexico, Andrew Luster, the grandson and one of the heirs of the, I don't want to misspeak, but I'm pretty sure it's the Max Factor makeup. Was it Max Factor? It's one of the makeup companies. Pretty sure it's Max Factor. And he had been raping women, and he fled to Mexico and was down there doing it, and was down there for a long time. I didn't like Tijuana at all. Seemed like it has that big SEX area. Everybody asking you if you want drugs. We stayed at like the Hilton or something nice downtown, and it was me, shout out to my street cousin, and young Blake. So Blake is a young African American gentleman, and me and my street cousin are both not, but so I guess then we'd have our little hip clothes on, and the three of us sitting at the bar in the Hilton must have looked like, what are these three guys are down here doing something. So this white man in a suit who was like clearly a DEA agent sits down next to us like, hey, what are you guys in town doing? And we were like, oh, we're just sightseeing, like whatever. What about you? But obviously we weren't up to anything bad or trying to buy kilos or anything. Well, I wasn't. So I was kind of messing with the guy. I was like, oh, what are you in town doing? Who are you? And he said, oh, I'm a businessman. And we said, well, what kind of business? Business. And then he just walked off. As soon as he determined, like, from being around us for a second, like, well, that we weren't, actively doing some type of drug transaction, he just got away from us. But Tijuana was founded in the 30s, actually, because of Prohibition. Tijuana was founded for Americans to come and drink when drinking was illegal in America. So it is a little literal sort of Sodom and Gomorrah, meaning it was founded to sin in. That's what it was for. Not to besmirch the people of Tijuana. Of course, many people come there from other parts of Mexico now to work. There's factories, and there's a very nice part of Tijuana. But I told my friend, I said, well, why would I live? He was like, oh, the nice part of Tijuana is just like San Diego. I was like, well, why would I live in Tijuana when I could live in San Diego? I guess it's cheaper, but I wouldn't live in Tijuana. But lots of Americans down there hiding. There's a deportee zone. So a lot of deported, like, gang members and stuff, like lower level criminals, they kick out of the United States who have whole families in the U.S. It's sad. There's whole kind of neighborhoods full of these guys. They're not Mexican citizens. They have a hard time integrating into Mexican society, but they can't get back over to the U.S. A lot of them are gang guys or have drug convictions, and they're part of a whole pool of criminals that connect the U.S. drug trade to the, what goes on in Mexico. The CARTels are just crime in general. And these Gringo Hunters would go after the most egregious of them, usually just homicide, PDF files. They had to gun down. There was a famous case, some guy calling himself Lucky. Anthony Luciano, he called himself Lucky, of course. Anthony Lucky Luciano out of L.A. had forcibly enjoyed the company of a 14-year-old maybe about 2 years ago, and the Gringo Hunters got up on him. He hops out of his car in broad daylight, again shoots at them, carjacks somebody for their Mini Cooper, keeps shooting, and the woman that lost her life with this guy, Cesar Hernandez, she actually, Abigail, she gunned him down. Anthony Lucky Luciano, she gunned him down a couple years ago, the PDF file. So she was heroic, but now she's lost her life. So it's a two-way street of crime. It's not just without our guns, the groups down there would not be able to do what they're doing with the violence. And those guys over there, they get killers from over here. This is a whole big other topic, but it's very interesting. Especially San Diego street gangs have been known for supplying, like the you've heard of the Ariana Felix brothers, CARTEL, out of Tijuana. They've got their primary hitman, David Barone, and some of his other guys from Logan Heights gang, which is a Serrano gang out of San Diego. And these guys were killing hundreds of people in I did a story on the Barrio Azteca, which is an El Paso gang. El Paso's a very safe city, but yet the street gang out of El Paso was part of when Ciudad Juarez, which is right across the border, was the homicide capital of the world. A lot of guys from El Paso were contributing to a big chunk of the homicides. La Barbie, I did a story on him. Edgar Villarreal, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed suburban Texas boy who became a major lieutenant. He was with Chapo and Beltran Leyvas. He had a whole army. He was responsible. He's one of the people that were responsible for ratcheting up the violence in the 2010 type era or earlier. Responsible maybe for several thousand murders. He was American born. So the Mexicans feel like, well, Americans bring the worst Americans come over there and think they can do whatever. And we stayed at the Hilton or whatever downtown, but we were walking around, exploring, talking to people. This was a long time ago. This was maybe 10, 12 years ago. I should go back over there. Oh, I am going back over there. I'm going to go back over there soon. So you've heard of the Caesar salad, of course. Caesar salad was invented at this restaurant, Cesar's, in the 1930s. And so we were at that hotel. I think we had a Caesar salad. And it's not a high-end hotel, but it's not run down. It's kind of okay. But I swear, we met a couple of Americans. One of them, as soon as we walked away from talking to him for a few minutes, I was like, oh yeah, he's hiding out from messing with kids. Because he was like, yeah, I'm from New Jersey. Yeah, I'm just down here. My family sends money and takes care of me. But he had the weirdest vibe. It seemed like there was of all the Americans we crossed paths with, if they didn't say they were specifically like, oh, I work for this or that corporation, you were kind of like, well, what are you doing here? Because it's really not nice. I mean, if you're coming from some city in the Midwest or some rundown place, Tijuana, Baja, it seem nice, but California's right there. Like, if you're an American and you want to be in that climate with the beaches, you would just stay on the U.S. side. There's really no reason to go on the other side. If you have family over there, of course, or unless you're trying to get into something, or you're starting a business and you want lower wage labor or whatever, but pretty shady over there. So, but anyways, this guy, is this a breakdown of the criminal justice system, this escape, or did this guy have inside help? And have any of you ever been to Tijuana? And how hard do you think it would be for you to escape and hide out over there? So Cesar Hernandez has now added another victim to his list. Rest in peace, Abigail, El Prophet American Dope.